sponsorship of House Bill 2823, which is a proposal that we believe advances today's discussion about some of the worst competitive supply industry abuses. I also want to thank everyone for convening this hearing about the legislation we jointly filed, an act relative to protecting residential electric customers, Senate Bill 195, and House Bill 311. I'm here today as the Commonwealth's ratepayer advocate. I'm joined by my legislative partner and bill sponsor, Senator Jim Welch. Representative Frank Moran wanted to be here today. He's also a sponsor of the bill, but he's unable, unfortunately, to be with us. Later on, you will hear from Deputy Division Chief Nate Forster and Assistant Attorney General Elizabeth Anderson, who work in our office's Ratepayer Advocacy Division. All of us appreciate the opportunity to testify here today. As you know, in 2018 and 2019, my office released 2 reports analyzing whether individualized residential electric supply market here in Massachusetts is benefiting customers the way we like to see them benefited. The answer is no. In fact, these reports confirm what we've been hearing from customers and learning in our numerous investigations, that this industry has overcharged Massachusetts customers for way too long. Many of you have heard from your own constituents about competitive electric suppliers. They go door to door, send letters in the mail, and call over and over and over again with promises of cheaper electricity or a locked-in lower rate that they claim will save people money. They say that if you sign up and switch over from your utility company, they'll deliver you consistent savings and lower bills. Across Massachusetts, hundreds of thousands of customers have made the switch to these suppliers. But since 2013, we've received almost 1,300 complaints, many reporting aggressive sales tactics and outright deception. And our report details even more problems. Companies that pretend to be the utility company when they show up at your door to get you to turn over sensitive information. Businesses that keep calling over and over. Door-to-door salespeople that force their way into a customer's home, taking advantage of the elderly or those on fixed incomes. People who signed up their friends and family only to discover that the deal they were marketing was a ripoff. Mailings that resemble actual communications a customer might receive from their utility. So based on this and a number of reports we received, in 2015 we decided to take a close look at what was actually happening in the industry, and we wanted to find out if these companies were actually delivering on what they promised. We crunched the numbers on dozens of companies and thousands of customers from Lawrence to Springfield, Worcester, Quincy, and Boston, and the results are really pretty shocking. All across Massachusetts, in nearly every community we examined, hundreds of thousands of residents are not paying less with competitive suppliers, they're paying more. In fact, they're paying a lot more. Here's what we found. Competitive electric supply has been a good thing for commercial and industrial ratepayers in Massachusetts. Many towns also have municipal buying programs that are working well. But that's not true for individual residential customers. Between July of 2015 and June of 2019, about 4 years, we found that Massachusetts customers who switched to a competitive electric supplier paid $340 million more than they would have paid if they just stayed with their utility company. This includes data from our upcoming second supplemental report, which details a 4th year of analysis. That will be up shortly. So it's clear to us that this industry has not taken steps to reduce impacts on customers or to curb behavior. In fact, the newest data that we're about to release shows that Massachusetts consumer losses have increased over the previous year, from $76 to $87 million lost. And over again, we found that these companies were signing up with people who could least afford it. Our investigation found that more than one in three low-income households in the state, 35%, were signed up with a competitive supplier from 2016 to 2019. That's double the rate for higher income households. Low-income residents paid an average of about $196 more every year than they should have paid for electricity. We even found some people who paid over $300 more. Remember, all of these numbers represent net losses by consumers. For every dollar saved, almost $8 are lost through this. And the collective toll in some of our cities and towns is really significant. If you look at Worcester alone, residents who signed up in September 2018 alone consistently have paid the most in the state to these competitive electric suppliers. As I said, just one month alone, $353,000 worth. In Lynn, 10,000 families forked over an extra $250,000 in just 1 month in 2018. $250,000 in Lynn alone in 1 month by 10,000 families. So, look, I knew you want to know where we've been on investigations and where we've been on outreach. First, I'll talk about outreach. In the past 6 months, my community engagement division has been all around the state to try to educate consumers on how to protect themselves. We've done competitive supply trainings in 25 communities across Massachusetts, teaching customers and consumers to learn about how to protect themselves from these misleading behaviors and what questions to ask, what things to look for when a supplier comes knocking. We'll be in Worcester this week, and we're happy to speak in any of our communities. But that's really just trying to stop bleeding by educating consumers out there. As you also know, we've been heavily engaged in investigations of this industry and have taken a lot of actions over the last few years. One of my jobs is to protect consumers from unfair or deceptive practices. And my colleagues in the Energy and Telecommunications Division are really well versed in actions in this area in particular. Just recently in December, my office secured a $10 million settlement with Starion Energy, one of these competitive suppliers. They'll be paying most of that money back to affected customers. We've previously reached agreements with Viridian Energy and Just Energy, who paid $5 million and $4 million respectively back to customers in the state. Just as important, each of these three companies agreed to strict injunctive relief to protect low-income customers and those on variable rate contracts. But despite our lengthy investigations and sizable punitive settlements, this industry we see continues to deceive and overcharge consumers. So it's clear to us that things need to change. It's simply true that companies cannot promise lower rates but deliver higher ones. Companies can't target our most vulnerable communities and our senior citizens. And our reports and investigations continue to show that far too many consumers continue to be taken in. That's why I'm asking this joint committee to join me in preventing this from happening to future customers, banning competitive suppliers from signing up new individual residential customers will stop once and for all these companies from overcharging Massachusetts consumers. We want to continue to work with you, your colleagues, consumer advocates, and the administration to change the law to protect our residents. But our 4 years of data, we think, confirms the basis for why we're here, the justification for this legislation. This just isn't a market that's functioning well for consumers, and our job is to protect them. Thank you very much for your time, and of course, we'll be happy to answer any questions.